So you were studying accounting. You weren't in law school?
Not at that time, no. Tom, as I say, come back to Bremen and started practicing his law. So I got a job as an accountant over in Atlanta when I got out in 1949. See, we both graduated in 1949. I think it was June of '49. And I took this accounting job, and I had some more time left on the GI Bill, and I decided to go to Emory Law School. So I took off over at Emory and spent 3 years over there. And all the time when Tom had passed the bar, back then you could take the bar, I believe, before you graduated. Now you can't. But Tom was successful in passing the bar, and that's when he established his law practice. Of course, his brother James already had one, but he was practicing out of his home. Then they moved a little building up there. I forgot I think it's wasn't that old building where the Church of God is or something like that.
Okay.
They tore the building down.
So they were in another building prior to the...
To the one they're currently in.
Okay.
See, now that's part of Tom. He didn't want to give up that old building over there. He had his office upstairs, and he had two lawyers downstairs, his son Mike and a gentleman with the name of Jack Witcher. And they were downstairs. Tom had a little old cubby hole upstairs. It was cramped over there. I don't see how they did it. But they stayed there a long time, but that was part of Tom's culture, I guess you say. He wanted to remain a country lawyer. That was his theme, was being a country lawyer. Mm-hmm. And it worked pretty good, I guess. He was pretty successful at it.
Okay. And this was all the while that he was in the House of Representatives. He wanted to maintain that law office.
Yeah, he was named, I think, floor leader under Lester Maddox, I believe. And see, back then, I don't think the House of Representatives paid anything. There wasn't much of a prestige to it as there is today. There's a lot of prestige to it today, but back then, before that, it was they'd alternate. It would be agreeable that this lawyer in Tallahassee would serve in the legislature the next 2 years, and then it would be transferred to Buchanan, a lawyer up there, and they'd switch it around. But there was a boy named Harold Murphy who was a distant cousin of Tom, and he was a representative. Well, he elected not to win, not to run. So Tom ran, and Tom became a fixture over there. They didn't switch it around like they used to. He just owned it on and on and on. So they give up that system.
Well, did anybody have anything to say about that? Anybody voice
Oh, yeah, there'd be some lawyers be disgruntled because Tom had a lock on it, and he wasn't giving it up. And I've been practicing law down here long as my time now, and it's certain like that. But it all changed when Tom established himself pretty rapidly over there because it was his first love. He was, and that was his first love. There's no question about it. That legislature. He was devoted to it, and he loved it. And he enjoyed his influence over there and his power. He had a lot of power, Tom did. He often told me that probably he had more power than the governor. And a lot of times, but I was never interested in politics, but it didn't make me mad because he just served 2 years and quit. But his brother Harold was a later appointed federal judge, and then when Tom got in there, he stayed.
Were you surprised when he became a politician?
No, ma'am. I'll tell you why. Because he was always interested. I never will forget. We were down in field pastures one time, and there was a couple of boys down there shooting at us with air guns. What we do is walk up and down those creek banks, trying to find a snake to shoot at with an air gun. You never could hit one, but you shot at them anyway. But we heard somebody firing an air gun somewhere, and we ducked down into a ditch, and one popped Tom right down the head. but he had an old ball cap on, and he had all these old campaign buttons on. He had about 10 on his head, and that old ball cap. You know, with Senator Russell, and at that time in 1936 they had a heated race, and you know, Roosevelt came down. He didn't try to purge Georgia, and they was trying to get rid of Senator Russell, and old Herman, not Herman, but Gene Talmadge was the governor, and he decided he wanted to be senator. He wanted to have Senator Richard Russell's seat, and so they had a big heated race. And Tom was vitally interested in it. I know we used to go to barbecues that they'd have, and go up there and eat that barbecue, you know, and drink their free Cokes. Those politicians, you know, it ain't like it used to be.
So,
And I tell you, there's another thing that Tom always did, always funny me. To prove that he was a country lawyer, he liked to use the word ain't. He just said ain't all the time. And I know he knew better, but he said it. And he just keeps saying ain't, and he never did change.
huh. It's interesting to me that even as a boy, he had campaign buttons on his baseball cap.
Yeah. I don't know why he did that. But every time, as I say, they had a big lake down at Camp Waco. We used to go in Boy Scouts. Old Tom would have that hat on, and he'd jump in the lake down there, you know, with his hat on. This thing come floating up. But he always wore an old hat. But that, you know, but the funniest thing is, as I related a while ago to you, was that fact that Tom was willing to walk that 5 miles to see that serial. It's a movie. And just Turner wouldn't let it go.
Wow.
And he just cried like a baby. Oh, Lord.
If you mentioned that Tom Murphy's passion was the House of Representatives and politics. What do you think he was passionate about? Why was it that important to him?
You know, I don't really know what motivated him. But he was always interested in politics. I know he was over at the university one time, and I used to go there and eat supper with him a lot. You know, they lived in that old trailer. And I'd go there and get some fried fish, and Agnes would cook it. And it cost 35 cents a pound, and we could eat that fish, you know. But he was talking to me about, he loved history, and he loved school education. And he secretly, I think to start out, he wanted to be, go and study history instead of law. And now what motivated him to go in politics, I just don't really know. Because we were together a lot, and you know, that never interested me at all. But it did him. He liked to go to those barbecues, you know, they'd hold up there. You know. Every time some politician comes down, old Tom would be on the front row.
It's interesting to me how important it was to him to try to do things to seem to help the state as a whole.
Well, I didn't. I'm sure he was a devoted public servant. There's no question about it, and I think he prided himself mostly in balancing the budget. Now he wanted everybody to not. He didn't like to spend money because I guess it was a result of his training. And I think probably what motivated him to go into politics probably would be the fact that he thought he could do a better job than they were doing over there. Because Tom, he was no wool hatter. You know what I mean? He was living in the country, but he wasn't that. He didn't belong to that crowd. You know, in Hermantown with the wool hat boys, they called them. You know, when South Georgia, you know, had such a lock, you know, under the county unit system. I think he wanted to correct that, and he was. I guess you'd say he was in the interest of the state to eliminate that. I know he talked about it a lot, and he even though he was from the country, 50 miles from Atlanta, but he still voted a lot with the city folks.
Okay. Did how did people feel about that he was voting a lot with the city folks?
Well, see, as a lawyer, Tom was a trial lawyer. And whenever somebody got in trouble, big trouble, or you had a pretty big case coming up, he was always involved in it. And he had a lot of experience in, you know, getting up before a jury and addressing the jury, and in his closing arguments, and he was had a very sharp mind as far as legal work, and he got a lot of experience through that. But his brother was a Superior Court, I mean, not his brother, but his cousin, Harold, was the judge up there, the Superior Court judge. And Tom had a fierce, it was a friendly rivalry, I guess you'd say, with Don Howe, who was a lawyer in Tallapoosa. And during those periods, I'd say in the 50s and 60s, Tom really worked at practicing law. And but whenever, you know, he had a shot at the legislature, I guess he thought, well, I've got somebody down there, Mr. Witcher down there taking care of the, you know, most of the business, so I'll go into politics. And that's what he did, and he was very successful at it. Mm-hmm. But as far as what motivated him to go into politics, I don't know. Mm-hmm. But I do know that all of his life, ever since I've been knowing Tom, politics was his first love.
Mm-hmm. When he lost in 2002.
Yeah, that hurt Tom too. I don't blame him. You know, he served faithfully and everything else. He had done a lot for Haralson County, Carroll County, you know. But this fellow come up against him, and I've forgotten now exactly how it come out, but I think Tom was defeated, but they had changed the districts. You know, it used to be just Haralson County that Tom was in, but then they expanded it to Cartersville and things like that. And this fellow was apparently had worked harder, did something. You know, Tom had been up there 35 years, and this fellow went around all over the district. Now let's make a change, and that did. And then he, you know, put out some propaganda to the effect, but most of the theme was that what he was elected on was the fact that Tom has moved away from the interests of the people. He's just a figure over there now. I could do more for you. It's time for a change. I think that was the principal reason he got beat.
Were people surprised when he was defeated?
Well, bring it around. See when they changed the districts, which included Paulding County and Polk County. And Tom wasn't as well known in Paulding. See, Dallas was the county seat of Paulding. He didn't practice up there, but he did a little practice up in Cedartown. But he didn't have the same contacts that he had up there as he did in Harrison County, which was his home district. And that's where he got started. And that's where he got entrenched in the legislature, was from Harrison County. But then whenever they changed the districts, you know, that weakened his strength. And that fellow, as I say, went around talking about time for change, you know. And it was successful. Of course, you know, when you practice law, you make enemies. You do make enemies. And sometimes they're powerful enemies. I mean, people are influential in the community. And I'm sure Tom had some enemies, you know. I mean, people that disliked him. And, you know, whenever he went to court up there, boy, he snapped on a lot of feet, you know, toes. When you're a lawyer, you know, you got to take sometimes unpopular issues, and you make enemies. Mm-hmm. But he was always strong in Harrison County. It was just those counties that he didn't have much influence in.